understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
When I eat a brain, I get visions.
Don't ever come back to Gotham.
You have failed this city.
Jesus, what kind of a preacher are you?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DCTV report for the week ending Saturday, January 13th, 2018. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sara Netzley, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And there were no new episodes this week, but that's about to change.
Yes.
This was the last of our wasteland, and we jump back in feet first with just 80 million new episodes next week. So I hope you enjoyed the time to watch what you want to watch, Ed, because we're back on a schedule.
Yeah, well, it's four. It's not 80 million.
That's true. It's not all of them.
It's four. I don't know. The shows go 2 hours as they are. No, 90 minutes. Tight 90. Yeah. This one's gonna be like half an hour, and I say that, and we're gonna end up in an hour 20. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to stop jinxing it.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming down, checking us out. How was your week, Sarah?
It was fine, but it probably wasn't as good as yours because you had a birthday.
Yes, it did. Yes, I did. Wednesday was my birthday. I turned 30.
Welcome. I said, welcome, sir. Would you like your senior discount?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's. I don't know. You know what? It feels weird because I feel like I'm supposed to feel weird, and I don't really feel weird. So I don't know what that means.
Denial. It just means denial.
Okay. All right. And every time I bring that up to someone, it's someone older, and they'll just and they're just like, just don't worry till 40. Just keep going.
Yeah, you're talking to somebody older, so I'm just like, oh, you adorable young puppy. Aw, you'll learn. You think you're old now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was really a great birthday present, because this whole week, because let's face it, the whole week is your birthday.
Obviously.
Yeah. And by the way, you know how my scale for when to stop saying Happy New Year?
What's that?
It's January 10th, because that's when you're supposed to start saying Happy Birthday, Ed.
That's a good way to do it. We should, as a nation, embrace that.
Yes.
We need standards. We need regulations. I think Ed's birthday is the perfect metric. Yeah.
Because I think after that point, if someone says to you Happy New Year, you look at them like, really?
No.
Yeah, it was like a week. That was like a week and a half ago. The world's moved on. Okay, it's a new year. Let's just get to work.
Hopefully not too much, because I ordered a bunch of 2018 calendars for my husband's business, and I meant to get them in the mail to, clients, friends of the office, things like that. And I'm mailing them tomorrow. So it's not a Happy New Year. It's just here. You can count the days of your life slipping away in 2018. And I'm getting it out before the first half of the first month, and hopefully that works. I'm a garbage person. Holidays were busy. Here's your calendar. Please come back to our law firm. Thank you very much.
There you go. Well, as I was saying, I got a great I got a great birthday present when I looked in our email bag and saw 2 fresh emails.
Wonderful.
Yes, and one of them is from someone that neither of us know.
That's amazing.
Yes.
We've made it on the internet.
Yes. So the first one is from our executive producer, Mr. Bill Sweeney. By the way, if you want to send us an email, it's dctv@wickedtheory.com. It's completely free. It could be like short little bursts, just a quick question, what was up with what was up with Amenadiel's costume last week, or, you could write us a book. Just so you know, for the books, I may truncate it a little bit, but we will be more than happy to get to them. And at this point, we're going to read anything we get.
And if we know you, you can send us email. If we don't know you, you can send us email. We'll take email from people we're blood relations to, people who were in our wedding ceremonies, people who've never once interacted with us on Twitter. We'll do it. We'll read your email.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. Yeah, or interact with us on Twitter at DCTV Report. But here's our first email from our fearless leader. Dear DCTV Report team, hey, this show is great. Keep up the good work. As the executive producer, some may say I have a bias, and my opinion of this show should be dismissed. And they're probably right, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Before we get into why I'm writing, I thought it was on me to clarify. Agent Palmer is not an associate producer of DC TV Report. Yes, he's an associate, and yes, he does produce things. But for this show, it's just email, which is special and cool in its own way. Over on Wicked Theory, that's a different thing. But even there, I'm not sure he knows I changed his title again, like in an official way, and haven't mentioned it. I won't say where or how. I'm sure he'll let me know when he finds it. Anyway, Ed asked me to watch last week's Lucifer, the proto-pilot. It seemed like a possible jumping on point. While it was a fair episode, I don't think it was really built for jumping on. You still needed to know the people in order to care or get why things are structured the way they are. It was cool. It didn't really sell me. I like the bit with the wings at the end, and to help you too, yeah, the porn stuff was a bit off, but hey, most jobs and industries are misrepresented on screen. Tip, never watch Law & Order with a cop or lawyer in the room. So all that to get to this. Lucy as a nickname really doesn't work for me. It just always feels out of place. To be honest, I usually think people are talking about a lady, and it's not like anyone calls Amenadiel Amy, though maybe they should since we spent the whole episode looking for his stolen jewelry. Thanks, Bill.
First of all, Ed, you do a really great Bill impression.
That was not an impression. You
do a really great delivery in the spirit of Bill.
Yeah, I was channeling his energy.
Well, I'm glad our fearless leader is pleased with the work that we've tuned in so far.
Yeah, and I got him to watch Lucifer. I think that's enough.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I love him taking notes. Well, that's not how that. I mean, porn wouldn't do that. Well, that's not. Window washers would never. No. Yeah, he's probably got a point that the proto-pilot was built as fan service for people who've been watching who enjoy the characters as they were back then. Mm-hmm. Hopefully there was enough that it sounds like he didn't watch it and say, what is this garbage? Never again. So that's nice. Yeah. There was enough there to hook him, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And no, definitely. And I do like the idea of Amy as a nickname for Amenadiel, only because Amenadiel is really long to say.
Well, Dr. Linda floated the idea of Amen this season. That's never really rolled off the tongue. But Amy, now that's good.
Especially Lucy and Amy.
Well, the Lucy thing I've always kind of enjoyed because Lucifer does sort of play with gender conventions, and he's canonically bisexual, and he's very open in his expressions of interests and fashion and grooming and things like that. So him kind of embracing a female type name just feels one more bit of little Lucifer business, which I kind of love. But it is a strange fit for the King of Hell, Prince of Hell, Ruler of Hell.
Yes,
Hell Dude for the Hell Dude. But not Hellboy. That's different. Very different.
Yeah. Well, so yeah.
Speaking of Bill Sweeney, over on the show that you are on with Bill, Wicked Theory, I was listening to this past week's episode, and you mentioned wanting to get your hands on a copy of Tiny Toon's How I Spent My Summer Vacation. Do you recall this?
Yes, I do.
I have a quick story to tell about this. years ago, 5, 6, 10 years ago, my sister and I were in a thrift store in our hometown, small town, Illinois. And they had a VCR, like a VHS, VCR TV combination set up, and it was playing a VHS copy of Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spent My Summer Vacation. My sister walked up to the clerk and said, I want to buy that tape that you're playing. And the clerk just sort of, like dead-eyed stare, snapped her gum, popped the tape out, put it in the cassette holder, handed it to her unrewinded, and said 50 cents. So we have a VHS copy of How I Spent My Summer Vacation someplace in my mom's house that we really ought to get digitally transferred, because you can't find it anywhere, because you're right. It's comedy genius. So.
Yeah. I do have a copy floating somewhere around my house. But
like, who goes into a thrift store to find their childhood treasure just playing in the background on a VCR?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't remember that, Tiny Toon Adventures was a TV show in the early 90s that was Steven Spielberg wanting to do Looney Tunes again, except they were all kid versions of the Looney Tunes. And they had a direct-to-video special, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, with Buster Bunny on the worst road trip in history. And it is hysterical. There is an appearance of Superman in that.
You stole my Superman cameos. So if we ever have truly nothing to watch some week, I think we should watch How I Spent My Summer Vacation, because there's a DC connection. That was 100% what I was going to suggest.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, Uncle Jay told me he has a laser disc version of that. And his birthday present for me was I think he called it a CLD or a VCD. It's this early Laserdisc thing, but it was like a cassette with a Laserdisc inside it that you put into a special machine of the Shazam cartoon from the early 80s.
Wow.
And it there is no, like, the players, like, Laserdisc players aren't made anymore. The thing that would play this thing doesn't exist. And like 6 months before that, he gave me a Betamax of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So he likes giving me things that I can bring home and say, hey, look at this. And my mom's like, you can never play that. It's a paperweight. I'm like, yeah, but it's nice. The thought is nice.
It was nice of him to think of me.
Yeah. Now, he did say he had a laser disc. He also said he had a laser disc version of Tiny Toons My Summer Vacation. How I Spent My Summer Vacation. So I can get like 3. I'm just collecting unusable video formats of my favorite things from Uncle Jay.
You keep saying Laserdisc like this is a thing.
Yeah. I never had a Laserdisc player. I didn't see what they looked like until like college. But so yeah.
Oh, I also listened to Uncle Jay's recommendation to try out Killing Gunther. Gunther, was it?
Yes.
It was ridiculous in the best way. So I'd like to thank him for that too.
Cool. All right. So
Other email.
Yes. Other email. This is from Ashley. She's on Twitter at River8878. And she chatted with us a little bit. You a little bit more than me. On Twitter this week, asking us a bunch of different questions. I know she wanted to know our thoughts on the Krypton trailer, which I will get to a little later in the show. But she did send us a very long email with tons and tons of questions.
Oh, such good questions.
Yes. Yeah. So she's been listening to the shows from close to the beginning, and she loves the recaps and the commentary, which is, hey, great. It's so nice to know that people who we don't know listen to this. You see the numbers on Libsyn, you don't know if they're lying to you, just to keep you paying that subscription, and to know that there are actually other people out there. It's a really great feeling. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Ashley, for being the first person to reach out to us. But I'm just going to go through her questions here, and honestly,
each question is so good. I feel like we could do a whole huge segment on each one.
Yeah, we could. But we're going to do the best we can. So she directs them mainly to you, but here we go. Do you and Edward have any hopes for future villain storylines for Flash or Arrow?
This one's tough for me because I'm not the comic reader that you are. So my answer would be, I always like when you have a team member who turns for some reason, kind of like the Killer Frost thing on Flash, except they didn't do that full force. You know, if you turn a former companion into the big bad for whatever reason, I always think that's really compelling if it's written well and if there are actual stakes. So I don't have really a person in mind who I think would be good for that. Although given the fractures on Team Arrow this season, and we're not going to do any major spoilers for any of the shows that we're talking about, but you know, could we see somebody like that turn because of a disagreement? You know, that could be kind of interesting. But I would turn it to you then to say, are there comic people that you think would be fruitful?
Yeah, I mean, they've gone through pretty much the whole rogues gallery, but there are some characters they haven't touched on in a while, or people I'd like to see different spins on, especially Arrow. Count Vertigo is one character. They had two versions of him so far in the first two seasons, and you know, I think there was some interesting stuff, but I think there's a lot more to mine with that character. Especially like the one thing they didn't touch on is that he's also a diplomat. You know, he kind of has the whole he's a count, and you know, he's a foreign dignitary.
I was gonna say he's a count, so hello.
Yeah, so they kind of have the whole Doctor Doom, you know, diplomatic immunity thing that you could play with him. So you could make this, you know, a real story of international intrigue. And you know, I think there's a lot more that they could do with that character, and that you know, but I don't know if since they've tried and it didn't really work the you know, first two times. I don't know if they've gone back to it, but I think it's time. As far as Flash, one character I thought had a really good episode was Kadabra last season, and I'd like to see him come back.
Remind me of who Kadabra was.
He was the magician from the future. He was one of the people who mentioned the Thinker.
Okay.
To Barry, you know, I think yeah, he was, yeah. Yeah, but you know, that's yeah, that's definitely one thing that they could do. You know, as far as like storylines from the comics.
Before we move past, I was going to say, for me with the Flash, she would never be a big bad, but I'd love to see Becky, the Jinx, Hazard. I always want to call her the Jinx, and she's not the Jinx. That's Robert Durst. Hazard. I really loved her. She, like I said, she would never be we have to defeat Hazard, and it's going to take us 8 episodes to do it kind of character. But she was fun, and I'd like her to come back.
Although Robert Durst, that would be an interesting villain on Arrow.
He definitely failed the city. So,
HBO, you know, documentaries.
Fred Durst would also be an acceptable villain. While we're talking Dursts, you could fight.
Yes.
Nora Durst, if you're a leftovers person, she could come back. That's cool. I'm sorry, you were saying storylines. Go.
Yeah. No, I think that's, you know, the only other big like Green Arrow storyline I could think of they would never do, because it's you know, Kevin Smith's take on the character, where like he had to use the Spectre to bring him back from the dead. And I don't know if Arrow is really that type of show.
Well, Kevin Smith has a relationship with the CW. He's done some Supergirl directing, so you've at least got that in going for you.
Yeah. And I'm surprised he hasn't tackled Arrow yet, but you know, I'm sure he's on the list.
Is Kevin Smith a fight director though? Arrow's so actiony.
Yeah, but I mean, he's done Flash and Supergirl. Supergirl has a lot of effects.
That's true.
Yeah, but he is usually the guy. I mean, it seems on those two shows, they've used him for their softer episodes. You know, they've used them for your touchy-feely episodes.
That's every Supergirl episode, and I say that with a great deal of affection.
Yes, yeah. But all right, what else we got here? I would just be curious to be back. Will it always be Damien Dark for Legends? Let's hope not.
No. God, please no.
Will Reverse Flash always be a constant villain for Barry? Is there a bigger one in the comics that could potentially be an eviler villain for him? I mean, in terms of the comics, like, you know, Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, those are like, you know, the big baddies. But, you know, I mean, the other ones, the other thing that you could do with the Flash is the rogues. And they've had like versions of that, but I mean like where you get every single Flash villain or medium grade robber villain working together. Like Captain Cold rounds up not just Heatwave or what's his sister, Golden Glider, but like he brings together Mirror Master and Pied Piper and Captain Boomerang and Kadabra and Weather Wizard, and you know, all of those people working together against the Flash.
That sounds expensive.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It sounds like a season 6 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what they're doing on Arrow right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, not a lot of spoilers, but I think we are seeing a little bit of a rogues gallery, although not really in action. So we'll have to see if they all actually team up in episodes, or if we sort of get this week, it's going to be this person causing problems for Oliver and company.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing you could do with that on The Flash is you have him fight each of them separately, and then over the course of the season realizes that they're all working together.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Do you think Black Siren will be Oliver's constant thorn in his side, or will they give her a comeback and have her turn to his side?
I'm a big
say,
Katie Cassidy Black Siren fan.
Okay, I would say if they do that, she has to die immediately.
Yes. And I don't just say that because it's not a performance and a character I enjoy all that much, but if you're going to do the redemption thing, I think it has to be redeemed by sacrificing for the good guys, right?
Yes. And and you just
on the other hand, I don't want
a vat of vodka ready for Quentin Lance.
I was going to say I don't want Quentin Lance to be sad anymore. That's my big hesitation. I don't know. I could see her. They strongly hinted, I think, at the end of season 5 that she was going to stick around and that she might have gentler feelings than she was letting on, and I really thought they were setting that up for a season-long erosion of the Black Siren persona and her coming around. But so far, I haven't seen any of that. She's just campy and evil, and that's fine. It's kind of one note for me. So, redeem her and then kill her off, or just zhuzh her back to whatever Earth she came from, because I don't super enjoy that character. And I understand the comics, she's very different, and I'm really sorry that interpretation didn't work in the show the way it did in the comics, because the character in the comics sounds amazing. But for me, the live action version doesn't work. So didn't work as a good guy, doesn't work as a bad guy. Just stop, Black Siren.
Yeah. All right, next one, Brass Tack. Does the potential ratings dip you alluded to for Supergirl bring into question the longevity of all the DC shows on the CW? Or would Supernatural be the longevity they're looking for? Or is it the exception to the rule? She also mentioned she just started rewatching Supernatural, and is trying to catch up on that.
First, I applaud a Supernatural rewatch. Always. Everybody should rewatch Supernatural once every 5 years. I think Supernatural is the exception to pretty much every rule except for maybe The Simpsons and Law and Order, right?
Yeah. Just, keep the formula, find ways to reinvent it. And, Well,
and Supernatural kind of can, in a way that maybe the superhero shows can't. Not that Supernatural has reinvented itself all that much, but they can move around and they can fight different things in different ways, kind of. You can invent new magic and mythology to the universe, but superheroes are sort of grounded by the city and the people and the skills. I feel like I'm thinking very small with superheroes, and I don't mean to do that.
I mean, to the bigger question, as far as the ratings go, I don't really think that's as much of an indicator, especially with CW. One thing a lot of people get caught up with ratings, CW has low ratings compared to the other networks, but compared to a cable channel, it's actually pretty good. And also, when making a decision on whether or not to cancel a show, a network doesn't look at your ratings compared to other shows in the same time slot on different networks. They compare it to how well your ratings are compared to the other shows on the network, and whether or not if they cancel you and replace you with something else, whether they think that your replacement would get better ratings than you.
And I will say at the end of the fall 2017 season, the number one show on the CW was The Flash, followed by Supernatural, Riverdale, Legends, and Supergirl tied, and then Arrow. And then that's and finishing with Jane the Virgin, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Dynasty, and Valor. So the CW superhero shows, the Arrowverse shows, are in the top 5 of the CW shows. So, you know, they're not dire. Honestly, I think for especially some of these older shows, it's does the cast want to stick around? When does Stephen Amell say, "Yeah, I'm done putting on these leather pants all the time. I just want to drink beer and kind of get a gut, and I'm done. No more salmon ladder."
Yeah.
And so that's when you start to see, you know, I'm not saying that it's going to be the actors themselves making that call, but I just wonder if as contracts expire and shows just get a little bit older, is that when they decide, okay, if we phase out Arrow. Now, I think that does raise problems or interesting questions with when we do crossovers and things. If Arrow is no longer a part of that universe, that is a big hole for the crossovers and for mentions and things like that we see zipping across the shows quite a bit.
Well, then you just turn to Greg Berlanti and say, you pull out another one. You know, they just replace it with a different superhero show.
Yeah, I assume he's got like 6 or 7 superhero show pilots actually just on his laptop, just like, oh, okay, well, I have this and I have this.
We haven't done Green Lantern yet. What are you talking about?
Green Lantern deserves a reboot.
Yeah. Remember they were talking about Question earlier last week, a couple of weeks ago.
But I don't think that we'll see all of these shows reaching, you know, season 12, season 13, Supernatural style. That's a labor of love that they're doing on Supernatural in a way that I'm not sure these other shows necessarily can and should sustain.
Yeah, I mean the one marker that does give me hope for that is that news headline from the first season of Flash, you know, with the red skies and everything else, that was 10 years out. So if Flash gets to season 10, they get to do that storyline. So,
or if Flash time jumps, you know, if they see the writing on the wall and this is going to be the last season, it's not going to be. But you know, do they jump? And
you know, Sarah, I was trying to give myself hope.
I'm sorry. It's going to get 10 years, baby. It's okay. Yeah, buddy. Hang on there. Keep believing. Now, Ashley, what I need to know from you, are you a Sam Winchester girl or a Dean Winchester girl? That's what I need to know. Which has nothing to do with DC. That's just me. That's my personality test for everybody I meet, Sam or Dean.
Yes. All right. What else we got? She wants to know about Lucifer, where you can catch up on those episodes. And right now,
Hulu.
Yes, all 3 seasons are on Hulu. So please do check that out. It's a great show. How many episodes of The Flash? Will The Flash be on trial and when they come back? Yeah. Will it be the rest of the season? And she wants to know the same about Arrow. She thinks that it seems like the trial's been going so long. Will it end this season? End with the season or sooner?
I think Flash. I don't know. They cast Mark Valley as the prosecutor, and I like Mark Valley, the actor. So if it lingers for a couple of episodes, I'm cool with that because I get some Mark Valley on my TV. But honestly, if it goes past 3 episodes, that's going to be brutal. That's about my restless marker for that, I would say. How about you, Ed?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could see it going a little longer on The Flash.
Yeah.
You know, with Arrow, I think that's run its course. I think it's going to be sooner. Either way, it's going to be much shorter than it would have been in real life.
Yeah. Well, they'd still be in pretrial motions for months yet. I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
This goes back to Bill's email about never watch a crime show with a lawyer or a cop.
Yeah. All right. What else? We get some random Arrow questions. You talked last week about how William has a go bag for being kidnapped. Want to know what William has in that go bag?
I feel like nothing practical. He would have like some sort of handheld video game. I have no idea what the kids are playing these days. Is it Game Boys? Are they still using Game Boys? He has a Game Boy. He has some kind of like snack food that has no nutritional value and glows in the dark and probably will be easily, like Twinkies. They'll get smushed right away when he's on the run. He maybe has an extra pair of shoes, but no extra clothing. Maybe a cap, some sort of ball cap. I don't understand the youth of today, but I feel like it would be really impractical. A transformer? Would he take a transformer?
Oh, well, I think he'd have a scientific calculator. I don't know if he'd go graphing it, but he'd definitely have a scientific calculator. I don't know. See, like the Eagle Scout in me is like, I know exactly what's in that go bag, but
ooh, what's in your go bag?
Well, a first aid kit, compass, what else? Things we need in the wood. Yeah, socks, shoes.
Do you have like waterproof matches or
well,
a flint?
you have fire starters, matches, poncho. You need a poncho.
Wet wipes. Gotta have wet wipes. Or maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no. You need a poncho. Bug spray and a lighter. Those don't always have to go together. But yeah.
Man, when the zombies go down, I'm headed to your house. You sound like you are prepared.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I don't have that anymore. But
come on.
But 15-year-old Ed would have it.
15-year-old Ed was ready for the zombies.
Yeah.
30-year-old Ed's like,
yeah.
I'll wade into the teeming masses. It's fine.
Yeah. There's a bigger question. She thinks that Roy Harper might actually be Caden James' son, who Caden James who she only will ever see as Ben Linus.
That's fair.
But Caden James accused Oliver of killing his son, and she's wondering if that son might actually be Roy.
I would love that for one big reason, and that is that so far Arrow has really disappointed me in the big reveal of the mystery villain who has a past history with Oliver is never anybody we know or care about.
Mm-hmm.
Vigilante, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but Vigilante, meh. Prometheus was great, but his relationship with Oliver was a little. We're hearing about this for the first time in this episode. Mm-hmm. So if Caden James's dead son turns out to be somebody we actually care about, that would be incredible. So I hope so. That would be amazing. I don't know that I give Arrow that much credit, mm-hmm. but I'm with you. I miss Roy. I would love to see more Roy and more Roy tangentially related topics.
Yep.
So
yeah, and
yeah, that'd be cool.
She also mentions that she went to was it Heroes and Villains Fan Fest? Yeah. She goes there every year and met mm-hmm. Met the actress that plays Speedy, Thea. Yes, and it was nice to meet. It was nice to meet her in person. Wishes she was on the show more.
Oh, lucky.
We do too. Yeah, and she's heading there this weekend, or she mm-hmm. was if you're listening to this afterwards. And she's going to try to meet the Felicity, Slade Wilson, and Black Siren if she can get in their lines.
So lucky.
Yeah. I didn't realize Black Lightning would be almost a family of crime-fighting metahumans. She wants to mm-hmm. clarify if that's actually what's going to happen, and yes, it is. That is the plan. We are going to get Thunder and Lightning. I think we're getting Thunder first. I don't know when Lightning's come back, but they showed the image for that a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that, the image for what Thunder's going to look like. And yeah, his kids do develop their own powers. That is part of the comic. And I think that's going to make this show stand out a lot more against the other shows.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Will Black Lightning be part of the Arrowverse? And that is part of the news, right?
Yep, we're going to talk about that in the news.
Mm-hmm.
But short answer, no.
Yes, short answer, no. Curious both thoughts on the premiere episode in the coming weeks. I can't wait until Monday to listen to the new episode. Hopefully this email is not too horrible with grammar mistakes for Sarah's eyeballs.
Ed read it, so I saw nothing. So I'm very happy with the results here.
Yes. And speaking as the child of a professional proofreader, it looks good to me.
Well done.
Yes.
It's the kind of quality content we want here on the DCTV Report. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So that's the emails. You ready to jump straight into the news?
Yeah, let's jump into some news. So we can start this week with some general CW news, as we've been doing because we've had some chatter at the Television Critics Association panels that have been going on. One is that we still have no news about renewals for any of the shows, but the CW president Mark Pedowitz said he's confident all 5 of the Arrowverse shows will be renewed, and that I think the expression was, we'll get around to it in a couple of weeks. Get around to it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, he really did say all 5. So I'm not concerned at all about the longevity of any of those shows, heading into the end of this season and then going into next season. So that's nice.
I know CW usually likes to announce all of their renewals at once. So they may be waiting on Riverdale or Valor, or seeing if any of those are going to show up before they throw down the hammer.
Oh, I think Riverdale's going to be fine, but I don't know about the non-superhero, non-Riverdale shows. Valor, I don't know. But you're right. They do tend to renew a lot. They don't cancel much.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Other general CW news, kind of interesting. Mark Guggenheim said that he really did want to take those crossover episodes that aired the end of 2017 and edit them together without breaks and with some new material to make a movie. But that union rules about crediting on individual episodes made that impossible. But he really did want to make a movie. And it seems to me that you could feel it. You could feel the cinematic aspirations in that crossover. Mm-hmm. In those 4 episodes. So I'd be really interested to see if this is something will they try to produce them in a way that they could make a movie. But very cool. I would love to see, do you release it? Do you drop it on Netflix then in a couple of months, or do you release the DVD, the Blu-ray, and say, here's the movie version with a little bit of extra content to bridge some of those commercial break type scenes that we've gotten rid of?
The Berlanti-verse, How I Spent My Summer Vacation.
I'll watch it. Let's see. Other news. Now we get into some individual shows, starting with Lucifer. Tom Ellis gave an interview talking about where we're headed for the end of the season. He said that there's kind of a love triangle shaping up between Lucifer, Chloe, and Pierce toward the end of the season, and that the season itself is building to a big finish. He says it's lovely, and it is, quote, Decker Star-tastic.
Okay.
So I have many thoughts about this.
Yeah. Especially because Chloe and Pierce's relationship was so awkward. Yeah.
Yes. And also, now we know that Pierce is, Kane. So the way I would write it, and what I would be really excited to see, would be Pierce aggressively starts courting Chloe and taunting Lucifer about it. She's with me and I'm like the original evil, and she doesn't know who you are, so you can't tell her who I am, and I'm going to corrupt her. And it goads Lucifer into revealing to Chloe who Pierce is, and then by extension of that, who he is. And that would give us maybe our big Lucifer Chloe finish. I think that would be fabulous. That's what I would like to see. Does that sound at all reasonable to you?
Yeah, that works for me. I'd like to see a little bit more, because I see, like, if you're gonna have a triangle, I think it has to seem like she could end up with either guy.
That's true.
You have Ella in here somewhere. Because she really fell hard for Mark for Pierce.
I don't think that's romantic, though, is it? That to me feels like hero worship from afar, and she knows that she's the kind of like the scrappy kid sister type.
Maybe.
Doesn't that feel that way to you?
Yeah. I don't know. The last episode, I feel like she was trying to play for that play the romantic angle.
I can see that.
And when he blew up on her, that didn't feel like a brother sister thing to me.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. But yeah, the expression love triangle in this scenario sits kind of strange for me because of the Pierce reveal at the end of the first half of the season. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to trust you, Lucifer. I do. I want to go along for this ride.
All right.
Moving on, we have quite a bit of Supergirl. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit of Supergirl news, but the show is going on hiatus. It's going to air 3 or 4 episodes starting this week that you're listening to this, basically. And then it's going to go on hiatus to let a couple of other of the shows play in the sandbox for a little bit, come back in April to finish its run. The hiatus is not any cause for concern. The showrunners tell us it's not that the show is struggling, in trouble. It's not a reflection of quality or confidence in any way, but it did have some production delays that were not related to the firing of Andrew Kreisberg, the producer who was accused of all kinds of hideous sexual harassment type issues. So production delays not caused by Kreisberg. No details about what those production delays were. I'm kind of curious about what that is, but above and beyond anything else, not any big reasons to be concerned about the longevity or the future of Supergirl, because everybody's super happy with Supergirl. The January 29th episode of Supergirl is going to be a little bit less superheroic, so it's going to focus on the war between Morgan Edge and Lena Luthor. So if you have enjoyed Adrian Pasdar's performance, that's going to be, I think, a big episode for him.
I'm excited.
I am too.
Yeah.
I like the dynamic of those two, CEO versus CEO. And then we get into the Brainiac 5. I don't want to say controversy because I'm not a yellow journalist, but, controversy. You had the teaser trailer last week. We saw Brainiac 5. We all thought, he looks weird. They premiered a longer mid-season premiere trailer this week, and we see a little bit more of Brainiac 5 in action. And I gotta be honest, Ed, he still looks weird.
Yeah, he looks weird, but I think it's a little better. You get a kind of a sense of his character. And Brainiac is meant to be kind of like the ultimate workaholic nerd, like super intensely focused on his work, and needs to get distracted every once in a while to appreciate the smaller things in life.
Okay.
So I think I especially if they're going to set him up kind of in a relationship with Kara, I think that could be an interesting dynamic. As someone who's even nerdier than her.
Well, and the actor who plays him, Jesse Rath, tweeted, "I get better looking throughout the episode, I promise. Just wait till I start talking. I'll grow on you." So this poor actor knows that the whole internet's like, really? Him? The other little bit of Supergirl news is we see Mon-El in his superhero getup for the first time. It's a lot of black leather, and I swear to you, he has puffed sleeves that are big enough that Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables would swoon a little over the puffed sleeves. Look.
Yeah. I mean, shoulder pads, that's that's like the only part of his classic Legends, classic Legion of Superheroes costume, because you can't have him in bright red, with in blue, evidently. Although if you Google image search him, you will see plenty of stuff in that costume. But yeah, no.
I mean, that's kind of the constant struggle, isn't it? Superheroes are so primary colored in the comics, and then they all just end up muddy black leather.
Yeah, no, but like Legion, it's so like bare bones because they need to do anything. It's literally just. I mean, I don't think there's any kind of like indications. There might just be like a small little like blue Superman symbol on his over his breast, but yeah, it's really just a red suit and a blue cape. But he does kind of have those shoulder pads, so I guess that's close enough. But yeah, no, I don't really have that much of a problem with it. I mean, they're noticeable, but they don't bother me.
Those sleeves are puffy. Moving on to The Flash. The January 30th episode has 2 separate but equally fun sounding storylines that are going to be happening. Number 1, Cisco and Ralph get shrunk.
Okay.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style. So that should be fun. I hope that there's a lot of panicked bickering. That's my hope. And Cecile temporarily becomes psychic because of her pregnancy. I think that's actually in the What to Expect When You're Expecting book is may develop psychic powers.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, my first thought is it's because she's carrying some kind of meta that's transmitting its powers to her. what do you think? Is that a possibility based on what you know of the Flash, based on what you know about the West genetics?
Yeah, and we did have good old what's his face from the last episode of from the finale, the guy who transported Thicker's brain into his body. So that could be involved somehow.
Okay.
What was his name?
I can't remember.
Dominic. Yeah. His brainwaves.
This is what happens when you turn 30. You forget names. They're gone, Ed. Just say goodbye.
No.
They're just gone.
Stop it.
Sorry. Who are you? What am I doing here? What's last little bit of Flash news. There is a casting notice that went out for Veronica Dale, aka Hyrax, mid-20s or 30s female environmental activist, turned animal liberator turned domestic terrorist, who's the leader of a cult-like organization that proposes to turn back the clock to pre-industrial age. She actually was an eco-terrorist in a couple of issues of Arrow, the comic book, and they're casting for her on The Flash, which is maybe not what you would expect necessarily, but there you go.
Yeah, eco-terrorism. I could see that being that's an issue that the Flash can handle.
Well, and the Arrow comic I know is a little bit more social issues and progressive views, and so it makes sense there. In the show, Arrow doesn't do as much of that. I guess the Flash is as good as anywhere else.
And that storyline was from the mid '90s when Oliver Queen wasn't actually the Green Arrow at the time. It's a very short story, and I don't think she had much of a life after that. So there's a lot to play around with that character.
Yeah. Well, I hope they cast well. That's always it for me. Is you land somebody good. Like I've so been enjoying. Amunet. Why am I?
Yes.
Katie Sackhoff as Amunet on The Flash. Somebody like that. That kind of casting that is obviously enjoying the part, sinks her teeth into it, brings some interesting background and kind of a fan association, in that case, BSG. So get somebody like that for Veronica, and I'm there.
Cool.
Moving on to Legends. At TCA, Mark Pedowitz, the CW president, hinted that Kid Flash could appear on Legends, and when one of the journalists asked, would that be permanent, he said, "You'll have to watch and see."
Please, we got to give that kid something to do.
I feel so bad for Kid Flash. First of all, because his name is Kid Flash. I mean, just in general, I feel bad for him for that. But yeah, they could use a speedster. He's got a good booted out of Arrow because they don't have the budget for two speedsters. So,
I love how I love how on The Flash they have so many heroes that they don't know what to do with it. Their solution is to put one of them on another show that already has 24 heroes. But actually, they've cleaned house a little bit with no Firestorm. So, I think Wally could fit in there, and I think he would get along with those guys.
Yeah, and I'd like to see him. He's always been, very much kid brother. Mm-hmm. Don't let everybody protect Wally because his dad is there, his older sister is there. So it would be kind of nice to see him get to stretch his, not wings, but legs, his long Flash legs.
Yeah.
Sorry for that metaphor. The other little bit of Legends news is there's an upcoming episode that they're filming now called Amazing Grace. And I don't have any real news about it other than they've been naming episodes in a way that you can kind of associate where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. So just like Helen Hunt was Helen of Troy, Amazing Grace could be a lot of things. Katie Lotz, aka Sara Lance, did tweet a photo of herself with her hair done up, kind of 1950s housewife style. So Grace could be Grace Hopper, pioneer of computer programming whose work led to the development of COBOL. That would be amazing. I'd love to see them highlight, early female accomplishments in that kind of STEM arena. Ed, when we were talking about this off air, you had suggested another Grace from the 50s who might be a possibility.
Grace Kelly.
That would be cool. Mm-hmm. I'd be okay with that. Can you imagine hijinks around some sort of big Hollywood royal wedding?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I guess they kind of just did old Hollywood, but this would be royalty. Hollywood royalty and then actual royalties.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can think of who Grace might be, is there a name? Is there some sort of, some kind of historical reference that I'm not seeing? Maybe that's what that is. But Amazing Grace, an episode coming up this year. And that's it for Legends. Cool. For Arrow, let's see. The February 1st episode is going to be Oliver versus Dinah Drake. So the Arrow team continues to squabble. So for everybody who's enjoying the internal struggles of Team Arrow, good news. It's not going to be solved by February.
Yeah. Now, how much do you think Vigilante has to do with this? And do we find out in that episode that Vigilante is with Caden James?
I hope so, because that would actually move things forward. And it would reveal some of the secrets, because as you and I have discussed many times on this show, we don't super love it when our characters keep secrets for no good reason. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if that happens in that episode, I guess it will have been worth it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we already know that Oliver doesn't trust Dinah right now, because she saw the video of her with Vigilante. So they know that connection there. So I don't know. I think it's something worth looking into. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. I think the last news I have for the CW shows is for Black Lightning, which does premiere this week. So finally, I feel like we've been talking about it forever. Set your TVs for that. CW President Mark Pedowitz says it isn't and was never intended to be part of the Arrowverse. In fact, it was originally developed for Fox. That's something we've talked about before. And Ed, your response to that is?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. And then
your cynical response is not part of the Arrowverse.
Oh, for now. Yeah.
For now.
Yeah. For now. We're on Earth 28. We're just hanging out. You're gonna find out it's actually a suburb of Metropolis. Yeah.
Surprise! It's Gotham's aspirational, commuter town, bedroom community, and that actually doesn't fit. I realize because CW is not Gotham, but still, I just like the thought that Gotham has a really Tony suburb off to the side. Yeah. Actually, Black Lightning has a big New York Times article about it that ran this week, which I don't know how often they have covered Arrow or Legends or things like that, but they did a big piece on Black Lightning in the New York Times, and it said that whereas the other CW shows use allegory to tackle social issues, Black Lightning strips away the allegory and just takes on race and social justice type issues head on. In fact, the first scenes of the pilot is a black man being stopped by a police officer and everything that entails in 2018. It's a fabulous article. We'll tweet it out from the account. I really do think if you're interested in this, we ought to take a look at that. I'm now writing down this because I don't want to promise and not follow through. But it is a deep dive and it has a lot of interesting background, and it talks to the showrunners and some of the history. But one of the things that jumped out at me was that Cress Williams is the lead character is Black Lightning, and he had auditioned for Luke Cage and made it through pretty far into the process, and then ultimately, of course, it went to Mike Coulter. And Cress Williams was disappointed. Obviously, you don't get the lead in the superhero show, and was worried that he was aging out of that kind of superhero role. And then Black Lightning came along, which is nice for him. You don't get nice Hollywood stories very often, so that's nice. And, in general, they have a predominantly Black writing staff, and with the predominantly Black cast, it makes sure that the language and the voice is authentic. And so you're not going to have, you can sometimes tell when it's a room full of 60-year-old white guys writing dialogue for, and I don't necessarily mean race, but any kind of race, age, gender, geography, religion, whatever the case may be that they don't really know about, you can tell, you can just sense the offness of the dialogue. So that shouldn't be the case here. It sounds like it's going to be authentic, well-researched, and important, possibly. So
cool.
I'm super excited. I cannot wait for this premiere. So that is that for the CW shows. Looking at some of the other, CW Arrowverse shows. We do have a little bit of iZombie news as well, which is CW, just not Arrowverse. It is premiering Monday, February 26th at 9 8 Central. I think that's the first we had heard of the actual premiere date there. And Robert Nepper is not going to return for season 5. That's Blaine's dad. End of last year, in kind of the height of the Me Too accusations flying fast and furiously, 5 women accused him of sexual misconduct, and the CW did an investigation and found that there was nothing untoward that happened on the iZombie set. However, this will be his last season. The season about to premiere, season 4, will wrap up his storyline. They said he only had a 1-year contract through season 4. His story is going to conclude. And frankly, they were 2/3 of the way through shooting the season when those accusations emerged.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they kind of, what do you do if you have somebody accused of this and you have 2/3 of your season shot? And I don't know that it's in the can necessarily. Anyway, so his storyline will be done at the end of this season.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's not really a crucial character.
Yeah, he's a villain and he's a foil, and I guess he's maybe part of the reason that Blaine is the way he is, and I find Blaine very interesting, but I won't miss him all that much.
Yeah. Now the Monday night at 9:00, I think that's a great slot. Initially, it's going to be with Legends, but eventually it'll be paired with Supergirl, which I think is a perfect 1-2 punch.
Lady Power, yeah, blonde Lady Power. Yeah, that just got a little more Aryan than I wanted. Moving on. Let's go over to Gotham. We have a promotional photo of Jerome with kind of bloody open wounds on his face. And I swear to God, if all they do is Jerome for the rest of the year, I'm going to be really put out. But that's the only news we've heard about Gotham, I feel like, is it's just Jerome. Like, I feel like Jan Brady. Marsha. It's just Jerome. It's all we get. So, let's see. Krypton. What do you say we talk about some Krypton? Krypton. The full trailer has dropped. Did you watch the trailer?
Yes, I did.
What did you think?
Oh my God. That was great. It was great.
It looked really good. I haven't been more interested in Krypton. I've been middling interested in Krypton. The trailer looks really good.
Yeah. And, it's Adam Strange coming up to Seg L with a red cape with a yellow S on the back of it saying, we need to, basically telling him there are people working against you trying to destroy Krypton, and we need to stop them because your grandson is going to be the most powerful hero in the universe. I mean, that's a good hook. Yeah. Yeah. And it's especially because it's the kind of thing where, like, the planet has to explode. So we just need it to not explode for about, like, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Well, counterpoint, here's a bunch of characters that we want you to fall in love with, enjoy, root for, cry with, and then we're going to kill them. We might not see it, but that's what's going to happen. So that's kind of an uphill battle for the show. And it made me think how many shows were prequels of things like that are set in a society or a land or a time when inevitably what's going to happen, but you're going to watch it anyway. The only one I could come up with was the Battlestar Galactica spinoff Caprica.
Oh yeah.
Which, we all knew they're going to get nuked. So I didn't ever watch it for a number of reasons. And one of them kind of was, I know how this ends. So can you think of anything else that has an I know how this ends vibe? Is this something that you think they're going to have to overcome? Am I overthinking?
I don't know. Star Wars prequels, those worked out.
Yeah. Rogue One, I guess, definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, Rogue One's a little different because you didn't know what was going to happen to those characters. You just knew what the end game was.
Many lives were lost getting this, right?
No, that line's Return of the Jedi. That's about the second Death Star. You're talking about many Buffins died to bring us this information.
Dang, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah. No, I'm excited. And just to like, this is a show that could self-contain itself, and the fact that it's letting little pieces of the DCU creep in there are really encouraging.
Yeah, it looks exciting, and it also it's going to bring in more characters than just Superman type Krypton characters, despite the name Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
The executive producer, Cameron Welsh, says that we will see most likely Hawkwoman, as well as Nightwing and Flamebird, which all sound made up. And David S. Goyer says basically that this show is going to be a gateway to DC's sci-fi universe, and says if the fans have read it in Mystery in Space, it will probably end up on our show.
Okay, first off, no one's read Mystery in Space.
I did ask my comic geek husband, have you read Mystery in Space? No. And hey, I don't usually get a no when I ask him things like that.
No. It's like, titles like Strange Adventures, Time Warp. Yeah, those are all DC titles from the 60s that no one read. But where, Strange Adventures is a title that's where Adam Strange comes from. And you do have, there is a rich, there is a lot of sci-fi characters that you could do in Hawkwoman. Adam Strange is from the planet Rann. Hawkwoman is from the planet Thanagar, and they are natural enemies. They have lots of wars between those two planets. So if one is going to show up, the other is probably not that far behind.
I am already on board. That sounds great.
Nightwing and Flamebird. Not to be confused with Nightwing Dick Grayson after he stops being Robin. The original origin of that mantle was actually from Superman in like when Kurt Swan was drawing it in like the 50s or 60s in the bottled city of Kandor. Do you know what the bottled city of Kandor is?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, Brainiac.
Regular Brainiac, not Brainiac 5.
Yeah, regular Brainiac proper. The guy who goes around the universe finding worlds and taking pieces of them. He will basically go to a planet, find that planet's most productive, insightful city, and shrink it down to the size of a snow globe.
All right.
And then destroy the whole rest of the planet. And keep that city in its, keep that bottled city in his, museum on his ship.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cities he saved is the bottled city of Kandor, which is a miniaturized version, miniaturized Kryptonian city that Superman has, and he can interact with them, but he can't grow it.
Mm-hmm.
He can't bring it back to normal size, until one point about 10 years ago. But I won't get into that. But basically he can travel down and shrink himself so he can visit the bottled city of Kandor and he can become big again, but he can't do that for anyone else in the city. Long story longer. When Superman is in the bottled city of Kandor, because it has red sunlight inside of that bottle, he doesn't have his powers anymore. So there was a string of adventures where Superman and Jimmy Olsen would shrink themselves down and hang out in Kandor, and when crimes would happen, they would assume their identities as Nightwing and Flamebird.
Okay.
Who were like the Batman and Robin of Kandor. And that's kind of where the name Nightwing first came from. Before Dick Grayson stole it for his name. So yeah, that's what they're talking about. I don't know what that means. It means we might have some vigilantes running around.
Wait, can I just say we just hit peak ed 5 minutes on comics? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so when they say Nightwing and Flamebird, that's what they're referring to. I have no idea how they would squish that into Krypton.
Well, just, all I'm going by is the names, but they sound sort of flashy.
Yes.
Right? And Krypton seems real serious.
Yeah.
Real serious.
Yeah.
So, but anytime you put a Hawk person in, maybe I'm just burned from the Flash, but the Hawk people are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anytime you say Hawk with a superhero now, I'm just like, nah, this better be campy. Because
Yeah. Also, there was a point where Batwoman in J.H. Williams and W. Hayden Blackman's run in the New 52. For a very brief period, Nightwing, Batwoman had a sidekick named Flamebird, which was her cousin, and she had this gorgeous gold and red costume. Check it out if you want to do a Google image search.
Cool.
But yeah. Anything else on Gotham? Krypton?
Krypton. Last thing on Krypton is that unlike every show, basically that you and I talk about on here, it's not being set in Canada. I'm sorry, it's not being filmed in Canada. It's being filmed in the UK. And that's because the showrunners were like, well, if it's science fiction, everybody needs a British accent. So they went to England to film because they wanted British accents. So
yeah. Just like all other foreign people, when we don't know what someone sounds like, they sound British. So all of the aliens have to be Brits. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Which makes me wonder, in England, their sci-fi shows, I mean, like, I can only talk about Doctor Who, really, and Torchwood, but they're all British, too. So apparently all aliens are British. That's just how it goes. It's just the rules. All right. 2 really quick shots here at the end. Titans. They are wrapping the pilot, production on the pilot, filming on the pilot, and they're going straight to series. And then my favorite bit from this story, there's no premiere date yet, which... Duh, there's no streaming network yet. Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great that they obviously have a lot of confidence in it if they're going straight into filming the series. So, all right, Titans.
There we go.
And this also reminded me that Akiva Goldsmith is involved in this show, and he's done, movies and TV for decades. But for me, what jumped out was Fringe. He did Fringe, and that was such a great sci-fi show. So
yeah. You know what jumps out for me? Batman and Robin.
All right, potato. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But Fringe was really good, but Batman and Robin. All right, fair enough. Finally, in our news section, Watchmen. HBO President Casey Bloys says that he has read the pilot script. It is amazing, and they hope to shoot it yet this year. So, also in that story was just an HBO update. The Deadwood movie, they're hoping to start shooting this fall of this year. There's a script getting rewritten now. They're working with the cast. I'm just excited about that because Deadwood's awesome. And also, Armando Iannucci has a space comedy pilot that he's hoping to produce on HBO. He does Veep, and you know that he is a poet of profanity. And if he's taking his particular set of skills into space for a comedy,
where is Peter Capaldi right now?
Well,
he's not doing Doctor Who anymore.
He's not doing Doctor Who anymore. Can he be a foul-mouthed space captain? I don't ask for much in this life.
God.
A foul-mouthed alien? A foul-mouthed commander who's on the ground and just comes in on the giant screen to yell at the captain who's going rogue? I don't care. Get me Capaldi in a space uniform.
But just, if anyone has not seen, I saw it all on Hulu, but the British series The Thick of It.
Oh, so
which was a predecessor to Veep. He plays the spin doctor for the party, and it is some of the most beautiful profanity you will ever hear. I believe the first thing he ever says on screen is useless as a marzipan dildo.
And it's honestly, when his casting was announced, I was just like, oh, I'm familiar with his work. Oh, I'm really familiar with his work. Good times.
Yeah. So, boom. Cool.
Boom. That's it for the news.
That's the news. All right.
We've been talking for a while, Ed.
Yeah. So, okay, we gotta make this quick. Although I think we could do it.
Yeah. So we had agreed that since we had no episodes this week, that we would check out something a little different.
Yeah. So we all loved Crisis on Earth X, and spinning out of that crossover was an animated series called Freedom Fighters: The Ray. It's a 6-episode micro series on CW Seed, which you can stream. I was able to find it through my Roku, and there's 6-minute episodes, and which tells the story of the Ray that we didn't meet on Earth X, fighting against Overgirl and Black Arrow and the Nazis, and dying, and then passing on his powers to the Ray we did meet from Earth 1. And this season, the 6-episode season, which I thought was going to be a complete story, ends on a cliffhanger.
It does.
It does, and that really upset me. But there's a lot going on here. Sarah, give me your thoughts.
Well, I am so grateful that the CW gives us these little bits of entertainment that obviously take time and effort, and a lot of talent goes into it. And I enjoyed it for what it was, but it wasn't. There definitely wasn't a self-contained story. It was really choppy. The first 2 6-minute episodes was Earth X Nazi stuff, and then the other 4 were our Earth Ray getting these powers and kind of trying to cope with that. And it just, I mean, it was almost, 50% of the show was Nazi stuff, and 50% of the show then was our Ray, and it just was a little choppy. And I would rather have seen a whole first season. Again, we're talking about 36 minutes of content set on Earth X with the Freedom Fighters, or a whole first season of Ray coping with his powers. It was hard to get situated. Okay, we're here on Earth X. Oh, but now we're on our Earth. I don't know. It was. I so appreciated that we got to see it, but it didn't tell a complete story, and it was so short that nothing really got fleshed out. And I just wanted more. I wanted more. Yeah.
And I don't know, but I think there's a lot to like here. I think especially those first 2 episodes are action-packed. It gets you right into it. It doesn't waste any time with exposition. It's like,
well, and it also, there was something that struck me as so absurdly funny of this loudspeaker, people of Tulsa, people of Tulsa. Did they pick Tulsa because it's just empirically the funniest name? I think so. And I also think it's probably the first time I've seen animated swastika imagery. And it was interesting to see how that translates into a cartoon setting. I liked the look of it. I liked, and maybe I liked the Earth X stuff better because it was a little bit more visually striking, because it was different and it really did reflect what we saw on the crossover. And then when you get to our Earth, it's just any other animated show,
Yeah.
But I agree. The action on that, I loved the trick arrows that Dark Arrow, Nazi Arrow had. That was really fun to watch. Did you catch who was voicing and who wasn't voicing their original characters?
Well, Melissa Benoist voiced Overgirl, and Cisco, the actor who plays Cisco, voiced him. Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell did not voice their characters.
And Danielle Panabaker did, and Echo Callum was there, and even Red Tornado, Iddo Goldberg played Red Tornado in Supergirl in season 1, and he voiced Red Tornado here too, which I thought was, he did one episode a couple years ago, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll be in your 6-minute cartoon.
Yeah, and I thought that was great, and you got to see, they were on screen briefly, but you got to see the Freedom Fighters. You got to see, Red Tornado. I don't think he's part of the original team, but because he was in that Earth X episode, it makes sense for him to be there. You saw Dollman and Phantom Lady and Black Condor.
By the way, they did a terrible job of introducing them.
Yeah.
For me, with no background, I had no idea who they were. I knew the Ray, and I realized, again, you have 6 minutes, and so it would be kind of awkward to be like, Phantom Lady, action report. What did your superpowers tell you? Like, I know you can't do that, but I really didn't have a lot of grounding in who they were. So it probably was more rewarding for people with the comics background.
Yeah. And these are deep cuts.
Deep cuts.
like these are characters they just, they let outside for a walk once every decade. just so that they can keep the IP. Pretty much. But Phantom Lady and Doll Man are a thing. Doll Man is a guy who can shrink to the size of a doll.
I just assumed that was Nazi fighting Arrow, or Adam was who I assumed that was, Nazi fighting Adam.
Yeah, and Phantom Lady is his girlfriend, who can phase through things and has force field powers. And Black Condor has wings.
No, and he was the Earth equivalent who was the buddy of Ray?
Yes.
In Earth?
Yes.
Okay. I liked him. Black Condor, he's the one who was just like, I want to punch more Nazis.
Yeah.
Same, Black Condor.
Yeah, and I do agree. I feel like the second we showed up on Earth 1, the show kind of came to a screeching halt, because that's the time where they took time to establish Ray Terrell, and that he's a social worker, that he works with all these scummy politicians.
He's not out to his family. He's living at home.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff felt like really boring 80s cartoons.
Which is funny because ordinarily I love the process of becoming a superhero. I love. We haven't seen it as much. I feel like Spider-Man gave us a bunch of versions of that, and then this most recent version, we didn't have quite as much of what is happening to my body. This is an allegory for puberty. Oh no. But ordinarily I really like that figuring things out, but it was, you're right. It was a little bit too much time spent on establishing the mundane our world of it all, and not enough with the superpowers and then, punching Nazis.
Yeah. Also, I loved how once he gets his powers, his friend John basically, uses his physics minor in college to, gather together all the exposition onto how his powers work.
I enjoyed that. Yeah, I know things. There's one of my very favorite movie reviews from years ago was a review of Battlefield Earth. Notoriously not a great film.
Mm-hmm.
And the reviewer, I don't remember who, said science fiction hit a new low when John Travolta started shooting the legs off of cows. And I had a chance to repurpose that. I'm not saying science fiction hit a new low, but the Ray definitely started shooting geese out of the sky, and I had a flashback to that line of that movie review. So I don't know if your hero is training on his powers by killing geese. Oh man.
Yeah.
But counterpoint, Ray in his costume is able to somehow raise one quizzical eyebrow at his buddy under the mask. Like he moves the mask also. It was impressive. He was able to raise the helmet eyebrow. That's a superpower.
Yeah. And there is some interesting stuff going on here, but it feels like an episode and a half of a proper cartoon.
Yeah. I did like that Ray immediately used his superpowers to try to get laid. I mean, like that was relatable, sir.
Yes.
Relatable.
And yeah. And so it ends with him planning a date with somebody else and then getting tranquilized. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, I know, right? That's ruined so many dates for me.
Yeah. Now, I remember you were thinking, it just ends with him waking up at the concentration camp and where we found him earlier. But I think there's a little bit more to this story.
Well, he has to meet Citizen Cold.
Yes.
And fall in love with Citizen Cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I really wanted to see, actually. And so I'm hoping they'll get to that.
Oh yeah. I don't know what the threshold for this being renewed for a second season is.
I think you and me watching it probably helped it toward that goal.
Yeah. And
we got 2 more views.
Vixen had 2 seasons. And they made a little movie out of it. This one was Freedom Fighters the Ray. I wouldn't be surprised if the next one we get is Freedom Fighters Citizen Cold.
That'd be cool.
And maybe they bridge the two, and that's how we match them. But now I'm like, I want to see more, and I don't think we're gonna get it for like a year.
Yeah. But there were lots of little moments I liked. I liked when when Ray is trying to figure his stuff out, and his buddy's like, hey, you've got Nazis on that other Earth, and he says, I think we've got some time. Like, dude, your Earth 1 privilege is showing. Easy for you to say. You're not under the Nazi boot heel. But I did, you had Cisco, especially in episode 6, he gets really quite badly beaten by Nazis. And it was really hard to watch. Like, it was just a cartoon version, but I love that character so much, and he really got kicked the crap out of. So that was hard. But Overgirl, her hair was pulled back in this, and let me tell you, Kara/Supergirl/Overgirl never pulls her hair back. Ever. Animation fail. No version of Kara Danvers does
all right.
But no, I wish we'd had a little bit more Earth X and a little bit more power manipulation as Ray tries to figure things out, and maybe a little bit less of hanging out in the bar.
Yeah.
But the coming out story was good too. I mean, like, it tried to do a lot of things. It was 6-minute episodes, and you can't please everybody. And again, charming, and I'm glad we got to watch it.
Yeah. And I.
That's all right.
Yeah, so this is kind of a lukewarm, but we're still excited. It's DC TV. We eat this stuff up.
Yeah,
so
it's been a drought, so I enjoyed seeing it. The voice acting was really good. I so like the Ray character. I would like to see more of him live action. I'd be happy to see more of him animated. Russell Tovey is just a likable guy, and he has a likable voice, and that delivery was good, even though it's weird that he doesn't have the British accent.
Yeah. So I'm up for this. I want to see more. I hope we get more. Yeah.
Same.
And you should go check this out if you haven't seen it. If you're going off our recommend,
it's such a fast watch. I mean, it really, even if I didn't love every minute of it, it zips by, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. So is there anything else we want to tackle for this week?
Well, I did have a winner of the week based on the
okay. All right. Who was your winner?
My winner is those 3 dudes in the bar, because every time we were at the bar, those 3 dudes were there. They seemed to like each other. They seemed to have a strong friendship. They seemed to really enjoy socializing. They have a place. I bet when they walk in, that bartender's like, hey, Jim, Mick, Andy, how's it going? Like, whatever. The 3 guys at the bar, winners of the week.
Yeah, and I would say my winner is the guy who Ray asked out because that date getting canceled, as it seems like it does. I think he dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
I mean,
wrong place, wrong time. He ends up in Earth X Nazi concentration camp too. So
yeah. And just superheroes, they're nice and all, but you don't want to get mixed up in all that drama. Especially like
they're
if
gonna lie to you, they're gonna keep their identities from you. You're gonna get kidnapped. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. Would you say it's better to go out with a superhero as a superhero first before you meet the alter ego? Or as the alter ego first, and then you find out they're a superhero.
You have literally stalled my brain. I'm processing through so many different scenarios in that. I almost think that you have to go out with the alter ego first, and then be like, wait, but oh my God. Because how do you roll that back? So I know what you can do. I know that you're Superman. And so when you're Clark Kent, but I know you're Superman. So I don't know.
See, but like that, I mean, to me, that's like, because Lois always had the dreamy eyes for Superman. And like Clark was just like her settling. And then she finds out that they're the same person. And it's like, oh, it's everything. Okay, my life is perfect.
Well, I think it can be delicious either way. If you have I'm with this normie and I love him or her, but this superhero is so great, and then you start realizing, but they're the same. That could be good. But reverse also, like, I'm dating Superman, but this bumbling reporter, he's so, I know that's not how it works, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Like, he's nice too. Yeah. So
Mhm.
Hey, have you seen the we talked about Doctor Who earlier, but have you seen the Doctor Who standalone superhero episode?
Yes. Yeah. That was last year's Christmas special, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I did too. And it kind of similar issues. You know, she knows the regular guy first and then kind of gets to know the superhero. And how do you reconcile that? And I think that's always kind of interesting. No, that's a really good question. Which is better to meet first? If anybody has any recommendations for fiction or any kind of offbeat stuff that we wouldn't have seen that tackles that, shoot that our way. That I'd love to dive into fun fiction about that.
Yeah. I do not recommend the movie My Superhero Ex-Girlfriend. Yeah.
Too late for me. I mean, like, I couldn't save myself from that.
But all right.
Yeah. I think if you want a super ex-girlfriend type thing, Hancock has a more interesting take on that. Am I misremembering
Yes.
Hancock?
Yeah. No, definitely. It's better.
I'm not saying it's good.
Oh,
I'm
no.
saying it's better than Super Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Cool.
Well, and if you have suggestions, where can they find us to give us those suggestions,
You
Ed?
can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD.
And I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
Yeah, and you can follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report and send all your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com, just like Ashley did this week. And I hope we hear from her in the future. Yes. Yeah. And also be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. Yeah, that's the DCTV report for this week. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer Bill Sweeney. And visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!